This is your hosts, James Jordan
and Mike Wallace,
coming at you for yet another edition of the Wide World of Motorsports podcast, recorded to you on CFMH 107.3, Local FM, St. John, New Brunswick, CKMS 102.7, Radio Waterloo, Kitchener, Waterloo, Ontario, and on the Performance Motorsports Network app on your smart device, and streaming on demand where you get your podcasts. Also follow us on social media at the WWOMS. Give us a like, a subscription, and send us a message. This is Season 6, Episode 31. We have grand episodes, possibly the biggest episodes of our season, potentially the best episodes like this one here. We got Kevin Lacroix, probably one of the best, biggest drivers out there, and he was on our show. He was able to give us a good almost hour.
Fresh off of his new patented move and his first win of the year, Kevin Lacroix. And we're sitting here with the NASCAR Pinty Series most recent winner, driver of the number 74, Kevin Lacroix. Kevin, how are you tonight?
I am very good, feeling really good still on the hype of the last win.
Yes, you know, it was your first win of 2023. It wasn't without trying this season, definitely. You've been close a couple times. Let's kind of get right into that weekend at CTMP. Walk us through unloading, practice, and qualifying leading up to the race, and how the weekend was kind of unraveling for you and the team.
Well, it started difficult because we didn't have a lot of trust in the car. It's a new car. Well, it's a new old car that we didn't use for 7 years.
Is this the one that you had at Delaware last year?
No. That's a road course. That's the car I used on road course in 2015, 2016.
Yeah,
right, okay.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so it was a kind of an old car, and we had, we changed tire manufacturer since then. We changed a lot of suspension parts also. So, the chassis itself is not too bad, but, converting, trying to use our new parts on that chassis, it required a few adjustments. And really, coming from my car, it was the first time of my life, I felt I had a shit car. So now I know how it feels like. But so I was afraid coming to CTMP. I was really afraid. And also we were not so fast in first practice. So I was, it started really, really tough. And then after the first practice, it was kind of depressing. But
what things were you struggling with the car that you were able to fix between practice, because you get one practice session, a group qualifying, and then you're racing? So what were some of the things that you were fighting with that you were able to, you and your championship crew chief Don Thompson Jr. Were working on?
Well, we found out that the suspensions that we were using in the past, with the new the settings with the new shocks that we have right now this year, it was not working well together at the iCar. So we made a kind of a spring, a stiffer spring change, stiffer than we've ever used. Also, because the car is about 60 pounds heavier, the chassis itself, and it's heavier, higher, so the center of gravity is higher, so the car rolls more. So everybody got better with that kind of stuff over the years. So it was a good car back in the days, but now it's a little bit past dated. So we made the springs a little bit stiffer to help the car not over. I'll say that roll on the sides. So,
right.
Yeah. So we made that also. I didn't remember, but at the time, I was using a rack and pinion 10-1, which you have to work the wheel a lot more to turn. So It was the first time in 6 years I was using that on a road course. So really, every time I went in the corner on first practice, I really felt like I was going straight in the corner, and that takes a lot of confidence. And when you feel like the steering response is very slow, I also felt that the brake response was very slow. But all that is linked to the lack of confidence in the car. So
Right.
so
What
yeah.
sorry, what you were talking about the car, changing the springs on that car and changing a couple of the other things. Can you not just input the setup from the spring onto this car? I'm assuming it's a different car, or is it the same car? Or
Well,
what?
because I destroyed my main car in GP3R, so we took in the old car, and no, you cannot transfer like the setup from our usual car to this one because the chassis is heavier, it's not the same, and also the flexibility of the bars, the chassis changes everything. So
what a throwback, though! Like that, what year was that? You ran that in
2015, 2016.
Wow.
But
Cool.
also, at that time we were using Goodyear's tires, which the sidewall is much stiffer. So a tire is also like a suspension. So if your tire is stiffer, it's like having stiffer springs. So now we're on general tires. The sidewalls of the tires are much more much softer. So it changes the dynamic of the suspension.
Right. Wow. Okay, so when you got out of practice, made some changes to the car, brought it to qualifying, did you know you fixed everything right out in qualifying, or did it take some more adjusting?
No, we were lucky because we don't have two practice. So we were lucky that we changed the rack and pinion to get to the steering box to get to a 8-to-1 like I used to. So and also we kind of stiffened the brake pedal, the travel, like shortened the travel of the brake pedal. So
right,
and all that with the suspension change, it brought back like the feeling of the other car and my confidence in the car. So really, I felt much more comfortable on lap one in qualifying. But it's just sad that the best lap always comes from lap one in qualifying, and I had to use that lap as a reference or like guide. So I didn't get my best lap out of it, but right away I knew that the car was much better, and we were going to have a good race.
Oh, that's cool. You broke that down really good and actually kind of highlighted some things that me personally I wasn't aware of. How much does the track change between practice to qualifying? You have other series there. I believe what Fell was there, and I'm sure there was some other stuff going on there. Does that kind of stuff interfere with how the track feels, or is it really
it was hot
just
that
kind
day.
of hot? Does that kind of stuff really mess with you, or is the car just kind of big and unruly and it really doesn't matter?
Yes, it does for sure. In qualifying and practice, the day before it was much colder. So usually when it's colder, you get more rear grip. Well, we do usually. So, but when you're, every time we come to Motorsport or CTMP, we always like keep the same. We always have a good car, so keep the same base setup, and we just work. Because temperature changes the setup of the car, but not a lot. So we just fine tune it every day, with the temperature of that day. So normally, yes, it does mess everything a little bit, but not much. We get used to it, and we know what to do. If it's a sunny day, a hot day, or a cold day, we know what to do. But now that between practice and qualifying, I was just not comfortable with the car at all. So it's difficult to really know where you're going to do, what you're going to do, and where you're going in what direction. But we were lucky to land on the right setup right away.
That's awesome. Let's get into race day. I actually forget where did you start that race? P5?
Four.
P4. Okay. So P4, you're starting on the inside.
The
Is
outside.
the outside? See, that always confuses me there because I would have assumed that the outside would have been the more desirable starting position for the pole sitter. I know usually you like to take the inside, but just because it's the racing line. Is there any difference? Like, do you notice that being on the inside there, close to the pit wall, if it's dirty?
No, it's not. No, I think because the leader is on the inside, and he kind of launched the race himself. So you just have to push a little bit the second lane, a little bit a little bit to the left, the most you can. So you get you don't stay on the dust.
So you're talking about not having the confidence that you want in the car right through practice and qualifying. How do you then push the car? Like you just said, well, you got to push that second lane. Well, how do you push that second lane into turn one? Cold tires. Everybody's on cold tires, and you don't really have the confidence you want in the car. How do you have confidence in that situation?
Well, no, it's I didn't have any confidence in practice, and then when I got in qualifying, I just felt it was just like my regular car. So going in turn one, I was just as confident as usual, and inside or outside, I think. No, it's such even corner one is such a long corner. We don't brake much, so you can. If you enter a little bit too aggressive, you're not going to like overdrive the corner a lot. It's you just trail brake a little bit in the corner, and if you don't get in the corner as aggressive as you'd like to, you just go back a little bit on power. So the first corner is really a nice one to get for a start, and too wide. It's not like if we were going in in corner two, which is going downhill and then off camber and everything. So corner one is much I think is much easier for confidence.
You guys went almost 30 laps until the first caution. It's pretty good.
Yeah. It was a long stretch.
Yeah, that's you guys seem to, like, when I say you guys, I'm referring to the series or the drivers in the series. You get those good long runs, and then usually cautions breed cautions. No, I mean that's typical everywhere. So let's talk about your race. What were some of the things you were maybe battling with in the first half of the race? Were you battling? Was it just drivers, or was it the car? Was it the track? Or combination?
Well, the car was good, and I was battling with both Dumoulin and Cameron. At some point, Dumoulin took back his lead, and I was more following Cameron. But earlier in the race, I think from lap 1 to maybe lap 12, I was following Dumoulin, and he had so much power. Like I was getting right behind him in corner 5, and then by the end of the straight, I was like 6-7 car lengths behind. So that was a little bit frustrating. But so we knew at that point that we had to take a position in the pit lane and use the pit. Our pit guys put a little bit more pressure on them to gain a spot there, because it would have been really difficult to gain that spot on the track. And also, at some point, I think lap 15, 16, Cameron pitted. So Dumoulin and we were both first and second, and I was right behind him at that point for maybe 5 laps in a row, and it was difficult. So like I said, we focus on the pit strategies.
When you're coming through the race there, and you're getting ready for pit stops, and you're kind of, it's an interesting part of the race where it seems that you'll move forward if you can move forward, but you're kind of pacing because you got to make it to a certain point. So, they always say you can't win can't win the race on the first lap in the first turn. You certainly can't win the race, halfway through a 60 lap race. Once you guys circulate through your pit stops, are you getting a more clear picture of what you're going to need to do to get out front or stay out front and beat LP? Because it seemed LP was definitely, other than you, the next strongest car, maybe Cameron. What did you do? Did you guys know what you had to do? Did you figure it out slowly, or did you just have a plan that you stuck to no matter what?
Well, we following him and knowing that we were not able to pass, and maybe I'll say that when we pitted for gas, we pitted at the same time, and we saw right after that he didn't pit right after for tires, so we did because we either there were two ways that we were going to overtake him. Is like if you pit for tires at the same time as him, you need your pit crew to be faster. So that's the only way. So you either have to pit later or sooner, and then focus on the speed. If I pit earlier and then there's a yellow and he has to pit under yellow, he falls back, and I'm moving forward when he's pitting under yellow. So that's one thing, and maybe he will never pit for tires. So if he doesn't pit for tires, then he stays ahead. But then at the end of the race, he doesn't have as good tires as me, so he becomes a little bit easier to pass. So we were really focusing on those two possibilities. So right. That's why we pitted before him for tires.
And then on, what was it, lap 38 or around there, there's a bit of a big wreck in turn 10 between the 27 and the 42, I believe, and that brought out a red for track cleanup, and then from there you were kind of able to, on that restart, you're with the 8 to go. What's going on there?
Well, even with the first restart, with the first, I'm not the first, but the second last restart, I mean, with maybe 15 to go, I'm starting like 5th, and he's 7th. So at that point, like, we watching the guys ahead of us, we knew that even if we were 5th and 7th, we were really 1st and 2nd, because the other person or the drivers were either out of sequence, like maybe going for a pit, or on really hold tires. So that was the only reason why they were ahead of us. So we knew that at that point we would be fighting with Dumoulin all race long. So I went super aggressive, because the quicker I can pass people, and if he struggled passing, he's losing some time. So I really need to make the passes as soon as possible. So I really got aggressive on overtaking drivers, and I knew that he was, if he would be just a little close to me in the straight, he would pass me in the straight. So I was really trying and pushing to get the furthest I could earlier.
Does clean air make a difference for you guys? We hear them talk about it with Cup down south, or just any racing series. The interesting thing is that we do hear a lot on the broadcast, the comment when body pieces come flying off, that it doesn't really matter because we're not going fast enough, which completely makes sense at somewhere like Sunset or whatnot. But at a place like CTMP, does that stuff make a difference?
Specifically on Andretti, straight away, I wonder.
Yeah.
Well, I believe that in CTMP, there's no really a big difference, because when you're second, like let's say Toronto or GP3R, it's really hard on the brakes. So when you're second, it's really tough. You for sure clean air helps, because you maintain all your stuff much cooler when you're leading. Mm-hmm. But in CTMP, we don't use the brakes as much, so we don't even have fans on brakes. So it's not that hard. And then, so being second would be an advantage, because you have some little draft.
Right.
Even though in our cars, the draft doesn't work as much as in maybe Formula cars. But but and also the straightaway is not really straight, so it's not like a super good draft, but it's a little bit something. So I would
Do
say
you
like
notice it?
oh no,
Can you feel it pull the car when you get to the top of the hill there?
no, when we're in a bigger tracks, like at New Hampshire on the big oval, I could feel it, or
Be
in
cool,
very
go back
straight
there.
line like Toronto, I can feel it, but in Motorsport I don't feel it.
Okay.
Oh, that's interesting.
So in
You go-
the closing laps there is so cool watching you guys race hard there, and especially on that last lap. And so take us through that last lap when you see that white flag. Take us through that.
Well, yeah, like I said, I knew, from 15 to go that the battle would be with LP. So, even though when I took the lead on maybe with 8 to go or 6 to go, I was watching in my rear view mirror, and I was at the time I was seeing like a yellow which was Tagliani, but I knew that at some point, Dumoulin would be the one in my mirror. So. As soon as the dot in my mirror became black, I knew it was Dumoulin, and that was a little bit scary because I knew he was much faster, and so I just kept watching him every lap. And with 2 to go, I saw that he was quite close, so I knew that on the last lap he would be right there, and so I just I didn't push super hard to make a super fast last lap because I knew that anyways he would be in my rear bumper by the end of the straight. So I just focused on not doing a mistake and having him pass me before the straight. So I just made sure that I didn't do any mistake and just wait on him because I knew he was going to come to my bumper or my door side by side. So I was watching him, the all straightaway. I was watching my mirrors and trying to find out how far he was from me. And at some point at the end of the straight, I kind of lifted the gas a little bit just to make sure he comes beside me and not behind me. Because when you're looking in the mirror and all you see is a windshield, he's really close.
Right.
So I just made sure that he was going, to come side by side rather than my bumper. Because, we've all seen the last few years, all the series, the race ending, how it happens. So I didn't want that.
Right.
So I wanted to kind of touch quickly on that. Are you surprised that LP didn't put a nose in there, bump you? LP hasn't had the best season of his career, and I'm sure he's itching to get into victory lane. And are you surprised, or is LP just the kind of driver that you can give, the minimal amount of room and it's just going to be respected?
Well, it's hard to know really because LP has never, I don't remember seeing him doing, stupid stuff out there. So he's pretty respectful, intelligent, and everything. But also, I don't believe really that any driver is too aggressive. I just think that, when you're second and you're like coming to the leader that fast, and then you have the chance in the last few corners to make a move, I think every driver would do it. Whether you're Ranger, Dumoulin, Tagliani, Lapsevich, or me, we would just go for the move. And if the leader is blocking the second place, if it's that I think that's the blocking that creates the bump and run, not because like in corner 10, every laps, every year that's the place where everybody overtake people, and the only thing that changes from a pass in lap 30 and a pass in lap 51 is the leader blocking. So when you're having a second place car dive on the apex of the corner and the leader is blocking, for sure he'll get bumped because it's a race. You cannot block a car with a bumper. It's not Formula One. So I just think that everybody would do it, and that's why that you cannot take the chance, and rely just on maybe I think LP is a good guy. He won't do it. You can you cannot take the chance. So that's why
Right, yeah.
I decided to lift a little bit and have him side by side rather than bumper to bumper.
Yeah, that was awesome. And those those are always put into those list of memorable finishes at CTMP, and also with your victory celebration there.
Yeah, well, you know, there's always when somebody wins a race, you know, especially you know, the last few years, there's always people saying that someone is cheating and everything. So yeah, and since Cameron did try to do donuts at Chaudière and he was not able, you know, he brought the traction control theory. So I just made sure that you know, I kept that. It was a joke. I like to keep that alive, you know, the traction control thing, and keep the
magic traction
the rumor alive.
Oh, right, yeah.
So that's why I did human donuts. It was just to have fun.
That's awesome.
Will you do that from now on in Victory Lane, or is that maybe a CTMP thing, or is that going to be a one and done?
Yeah, I never thought I would have a signature move, but
hell
right
yeah,
now,
man!
Since then, I think that'll be it.
Yeah,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
It's awesome.
Because that throws me back to Edwards, and it even reminds me of DW and the Icky Shuffle and all these other classic kind of signature moves. And being a wrestling fan myself, I love that stuff. And also keeping some humor in there and trying to keep things light, because a lot of people take that cheating thing seriously, and they throw that word around too easily. We don't. We don't go down that path. A lot of people throw that around, and it's tough. I think for me,
evidence. You need evidence.
Well, even then, you know, I focus on other things. For me, from my perspective as a fan and as the host of the show and whatnot, like I always look at just the competitive side of things, and I understand that from my, you know, if we've ever been at someone out there has been at a volunteer or work or whatever, maybe you can relate. Sometimes you've cut a couple corners to make things easier on yourself or your team or whatever, right? So not that we see it we see in all these things, and not that justifies anything, but I see people go on Facebook and because it's so easy for them to do it behind a keyboard, and they say this stuff but then again, they're probably hypocrites, because in their own life, I mean, who doesn't want to try to win and do whatever they can to win. And if you really have, if anything's really wrong, they catch you. They're not screwing around or anything, like, you know. So, like, if there's anything bad out there, folks, it'll be dealt with. But I loved watching you. That was awesome watching you guys. The professionalism from LP and you, and we've had you guys on the show a few times, and for me, it's definitely a favorite moment to see, and also going into Delaware as well, and to wrap off the season. It's a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, well, it's for sure. We'll all the team will be in a much better mood for the last race with the last win, and also Delaware. We've always been faster. We never won, but we came close a few times. So I think we're all looking forward to it, and we're gonna have a good race. And you know, the result doesn't change much on the standings. I don't think whether I win or finish like
right
P10, it won't change much. So we're just going there and enjoy and do our best and try to have a second win.
I only think there's a couple spots that are up for grabs going into Delaware. It's like 6th and 9th. Or something like that, or depending on the car count, like 12th. I don't know, just random numbers now at this point. But so last year we kind of saw it get a little hectic, and with maybe there's other drivers in your position too, where they're kind of going in there for a win and try to get something done. And it's the last race of the season. Some guys want to go with a bang. I don't know, especially. I don't know if there's any bad blood between I haven't noticed anything too bad this season, so I don't imagine anything really getting too out of hand in a couple weeks at Delaware. I hope not, but
Yeah, every year you feel there's some kind of paybacks that needs to be done, but I don't feel this way this season.
Right, yeah. That's that's good, right? Like, and I remember that a vibe at the beginning of the season too. Well, for sure when I was at CTMP, I remember on the grid and all the drivers everyone was talking to each other and laughing, and even Larry Jackson was saying like everyone's like having a good time here. Like this is great. Like, and that's kind of gone throughout the season. Now that we're almost at the end of the season, you can definitely tell. And yeah, in a few weeks we'll see at Delaware, and then that I guess that'll wrap it up for that season. For the season, I wish we always had more races, but.
So I just wanted to talk about your season a little bit as a whole. You know, I don't think it's unfair to say that maybe you and the team haven't had the season that you've wanted. You know, you're going out on a high, which is amazing. What are maybe some of the things or areas that you and the team, maybe for lack of better term, lacked, or where you guys were missing? Or maybe is it just so competitive that if you're 99% and not 100%, you're just not in the top three?
Well, no, I think that I'll say that. First of all, we were really not lucky. Like even the races that we had a decent finish. Like first race at Sunset was good, and then the second race was CTMP, and we were really like the car to win there. And with the pit stops, we fell back, mid pack, and I got on a restart like Herbie, the 53 car was having maybe too excited or something, but yeah, he got with some weird driving and really hit me hard on the wheel, and I got like 40 degrees of camber after that. The car was undrivable, and I still finished P4, but I was expecting a win, and there's not a big difference between P2 and P4, but with the win, there's a big difference. And also who wins that race is Lapsevich, which is the oval driver. He's the guy that's gonna win probably every oval. So right there, it's disappointing that you're giving away a win to that guy that is gonna be like super dominant on ovals. So right there it was already tough, and then we get to East Coast in Newfoundland, and now it's the opposite. We're leading the whole race, on an oval, and then we get a flat tire. Yeah. So we get one lap down, and we're able to make it back to I believe 5th place, which is okay, but it's not a win. And who wins that race? It's Lapsevich again. So right there we knew that it's gonna be we would need a lot more luck, and we would need Lapsevich to have some bad luck, and he didn't have any bad luck. So right there, it's tough to win every year. It's like it's like a contest of who has the less bad lucks, and starting the season with 4 races and 2 big bad lucks it was painful already. So I think right there we were a little bit concerned already. Right. And then we get we make a few okay races, and like Toronto, I really felt like I should have won the race. On the last lap, I came side by side with Tagliani, and I really ran out of energy. So right there, it's a mistake on my hands, on my side. So it's like we got bad lucks, and then I do mistakes, and it's like, wow, that's awful. And so from there it started to go really bad. And I think it's just sometimes it's momentum, and when you don't have the momentum, it's hard to break that streak. So.
So I know we have one more race at Delaware, which Jordan and I will both be there, so we'll get to see you in person. I'm really looking forward to that weekend because we have the APC, the late model 200. Maybe you should the team bring a late model, pro late model, come do a 200 lap pro late model race.
That'd be cool.
Not to jump so far ahead, but I'm sure our listeners would be quite curious on on your plans for 2024?
Oh, it's always the same thing. It's it's trying to get the luck. It's always that we're always fast. Maybe like for sure the 20 car was very dominant. But so we keep working on on the oval car. But we had a good race at a few good races. Like we did two top three, and one race we were leading by many car lengths before the flat tire, and then we had Edmonton who finished fourth. So I think our oval car is not too bad, and I think that if I don't have any bad lucks, we're really like focusing on winning the road courses and just doing good on ovals. And I think we're not as dominant as some other people on ovals, but we're okay to finish with a bunch of top fives, and having a dominant performance at road course with that's our chance to win a championship. And that's what we're trying to do every year. And we're stopped by bad lucks. It's really tough to try to change things when it's only the things that you would need to change are not in your hands. You don't have any control with that.
Before we wrap up, I mean, you're going down a really good road, and I kind of want to keep you going on this because it's good. What then? How do you stay motivated then? I kind of talked to Ranger about this at Oshweekend earlier in the year because he has not as well had a very good year, and talking about what keeps you motivated to continue. What are the driving factors for you? Because this isn't your day job. You have another job. You run multiple businesses with your family. What keeps you wanting to win that championship and fighting for it, all year long?
Well, you said it, and for sure, like, I'm sure that Ranger is not super motivated at the, right now, and I am not neither. So, I think it's easy for us right now with the season that we have to discourage and be unmotivated because it's tough but we have plenty of time to forget about it during the winter. And no matter how bad the season was the year before, when we get to first race of the year, we're all motivated and all excited. So everything depends on, I would say maybe the first 5 races of the year. That's where it plays out. Where are we going to stay motivated all year long or not? So yeah, and that's what happened for us. After 5 races, we knew that the chances were really slim. So then you just I'll say that we're not like it's maybe we're more focusing on having fun rather than winning. So, and sometimes it's like in Toronto where I almost gave up on the win. When I was second, I was chasing the leader, and the flagman tells me 5 to go. No, initially he tells me 10 to go, and then I'm like, okay, but I see 5, so I tell myself like, okay, there's 5 laps to go, and then 5 laps later he shows me the 5 to go. I'm like, wow, I'm done with it. Not 5 laps anymore. I don't want to do that. So
yeah,
and I kind of let go the win right there, and that's the lack of motivation, and it comes from the tough beginning of the year that you don't carry that momentum, and so that's what happened, and then it just gets worse and worse. So as you see your points going down, you start to think like, okay, we'll just have fun. Everybody's more relaxed, and that and okay, the atmosphere in the team is not too bad, but you're not making the car the best it can be because you're not working as hard. So, and myself, like when the team asks me question, how you feel about the car, it's like, okay, I don't know. I was not I was not concentrated enough to really have a good feel of the car. I just drove it, and I don't even remember like 2 minutes later how it was. So it's tough to get the car better when you're not focused.
So who is your at track support? Who's the person that you go to get your mind back in the game? I'm sure your Donnie is got to be a great motivator.
Well, yeah, maybe he is, but he's not really. He's so busy. He's like,
Mm.
I don't know. He keeps himself busy, so we don't talk much. We talk about the car, but other than that, we don't talk about racing and motivation and everything. So he just like he likes to do everything by himself and be really like in the car. Not he's not like the kind of guy who tells the mechanics what to do and he has full trust in them. He likes to do it himself, make sure he's like everything is perfect. So that's a good thing in our team that he's, even though the team is struggling, he's always like, maybe I think he's the one that still works the hardest every time. He keeps working really hard even though it's times are difficult. So in terms of,
So that
I don't rely on him on on
sure.
motivation, but for sure he's really good for the team. And one
Well,
thing
yeah,
that,
I would.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, one thing that really hurt is I have a bad or tough last 2 years with the business that we had big plans and we worked really hard and lacked a lot of time with family, and that hurt my couple a little bit. And so my wife, I think she came to one race, so not having a good partner to try to keep me calm and motivate me, that for sure didn't help. So being alone in my tough atmosphere was for sure was tough.
I can definitely empathize with you on and sympathize with the idea of what it's like to have the support behind you, because it is really hard to focus on anything else when maybe things aren't going smooth, right? When personal life is amazing, anything else seems like a walk in the park. But when things are not the best in your personal life, everything else just seems like a mountain. So
yeah, and the other way around would be the same also. Even if sometimes your personal life struggles a little bit, and then you get to the racing life and everything's super good, then everything gets much easier also in your personal life. So now it's been a tough year in many ways. So yeah, it will be a year to forget. That's for sure.
Well, we're glad that you're at the track. We Jordan and I think particularly have gotten to know you well and really appreciate you at the track and appreciate the chats that we get to have.
Absolutely.
I think you're more appreciated on in the series than maybe sometimes you might feel. And there's tons of people on your side rooting for you. So, I appreciate you being honest, Kevin. That stuff's not easy to do, and I think people will really appreciate it. I'd like to maybe end on a happier topic or a happier subject. I just want to talk about your a little bit about your open wheel background. I mean, I don't think a lot of people know that's where you started racing. A very different mentality all across the board, from just racing etiquette to how you get performance out of the car. What are some things that were transferable to stock cars, and then what did you have to figure out mentally in to get around, this new style of racing?
Well, yeah. Like you mentioned, I did the Formula cars, open wheel cars, but I did also lots of karting, and even though it's not a big stock car, I'll say the competition level in these kind of racing, when you go worldwide, it's for sure it's the toughest form of motorsports in the world. I believe it's it's super tight, super aggressive, and I've been some people when we get to to bump up the drivers, I get sometimes a message from people from karting and saying like, hey, that's not what we learned in karting. Hey, we didn't go to the same races. When you go to high level of racing, everybody bumps, and I believe that's how you try to I think that's where you learn how to drive in the traffic, and that's avoid contact, and you're always expecting the bump. And I think especially last week in CTMP, that helped me a lot. All the go-karting I did in my life, I know what to expect and I know what to do to avoid it, and I think it worked well. And also after that, I went in when I was a little bit older, like 16 to 20 years old, I went to open wheel, and that's not, you don't get to bump other drivers because it's really fragile cars, but what helps a lot is there's a lot of data in the car, so every time you get out of the car, you really analyze everything on the car, so you learn what's good for a car, and you learn how to go fast, and where you can gain time, where you can lose time. So when you get in a series like we have right now with NASCAR, that there's no data, some drivers, when they'll struggle for a long time because they don't have any tool to know where they struggle on the track. So is it the top speed? Is it the cornering? Which corner? The tight corners, the fast corners? And what they do with their driving? They don't know. Sometimes people think like if you have to gain a little bit of time, you need to go faster in the corner. But sometimes it's slower is faster. So it's difficult to. And when you analyze a lot in your life, maybe you don't need those tools as much as other drivers would. So I think with that background, I'm more. I know how to be fast, and I know what to do and what not to do, and I think that helps me a lot. In learning a new track, learning a new car, or working on the car, working on the setup, and having get a better feel of the track in the car.
Do you wish you were still doing like Formula stuff, open wheel stuff, karting, or what was maybe the switch? Why did you switch to stock cars or Pinty series?
Well, for sure, at the time, I was seeing myself more as an open wheel driver. So I was really looking to get a career in that. And I almost did. I signed a contract 1 year in Indy Light, and then the next year in IndyCar. And that was in 2008. And that was the year with the economic crash. So the team I had the contract with folded, so I found myself. It was Walker Racing. It was actually like one of the top 3 or top 4 team in an IndyCar. So
nice, that's so cool. Wow,
that was a good ride. But so it folded, and it's been in IndyCar for a long time, and right when it was my turn to get in the car, the team closed. So that was that hurt a lot. But and then because it's all about your relationship with the people. Because for sure, when you have a ton of money, you choose where you spend your money. But when you don't have money, it's it was always like my year in Indy Light. It's it costs about 1.5 million a year, and my budget was 250K. So I had to rely on my performance to convince teams to give me a run, and then when you build a relationship with a team owner and the team closes, it's like it's tough to start again. So,
What how did you do in the Indy Lights Championship?
well, I won 2 races, and
Where?
Portland.
Ooh,
Portland International, where they were just
nice.
last weekend. So yeah, that was actually my first year. I started 3 races late in the year because it took some time to find a budget and find a team. So so actually a driver had the full season run, and he canceled. He had the 3 bad finishes, so it was a Chinese guy, so he just went back to China. So so the team just gave me the car for almost no money. So with my low budget, so I just started with 1 race, and that was my first race, my first win. So that was it was a good start to this to our relationship. So after that, it just maybe I got the beginner's luck, but so we've had some tough races and some good races, but yeah, a bunch of top 5 and top and podium and another win in Road Atlanta. But yeah, so it was nice. And also at the time,
Really?
there was there was like 25 cars in Indy cars and like 30 cars in Indy Lights, and it was all good drivers. And the year after, in 2009, like there was maybe 6 drivers in Indy Lights, so the series went from 30 to 6. Like, so I'm not the only one in my situation. Many drivers had that problem, but yeah. So but it was a really great experience, that's for sure. It was nice.
Wow, I mean, I truly think we're going to surprise some people with this interview and some of the some of the stories and some of the stuff you've given us about, some of the things you've done in the past, like your Indy Lights. Honestly, man, I had no idea. I knew you did open wheel stuff. I had no idea that's amazing. I'm kind of speechless, truthfully. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Who would have you been racing against in those races?
Well, how to say that? James Hinchcliffe was
Yeah.
in an IndyCar, that's for sure. Everybody knows him in Canada. So.
Yeah.
So he was there.
Nice. So, oh wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Wow, cool. Okay, well, you know what? I mean, you've been super generous with your time tonight, and actually you're amazing every time we see you at the track. We really appreciate you coming on. You got anything to say there, J-Man?
Yeah, that was awesome. Hearing about you talk about racing the last little bit. And so to wrap it up, just want to ask, it sounds like you're more of a fan of the road. It sounds like it. You're more of a road racer guy. It's probably in your heart more. The last couple of years, Wallace over here has got me into road racing. I was more of an oval guy at one point, but now I'm all over that, all over in that world. And there's something more cool about it. There's something more hands-on, literally hands-on. What is it that makes you love road racing more than, or maybe what makes you love road racing differently than you would maybe in certain ways you love oval racing? Because you got to love it both, I'm guessing, right?
Well, honestly, when I was talking about open wheel, like I mentioned that earlier in my career, that's why I wanted to do. But when I came, to the series, it was because there was Tagliani, Ranger, and Kennington, so big Canadian names that were doing good in the Pinty series. So that's why I came. And ever since I tried the cars and race, I did one race, and I found it so exciting. That really right now, I'm much more a stock car driver than an open wheel driver. So I don't think I would like to do like cup racing. There's like 40 races a year. That's it. That's too much. But still, I would still do it because everybody wants to do it. But I think it's 40 races a year is way too much. But but yeah, I think stock car is, especially on road course, I think it's we always get exciting finish, exciting racing, and when you're following cars in open wheel, you get, when you're faster than a car, you get close, and then you lose air on your wings, so your car gets slippery, doesn't have grip, and then you back down. So when you're for a few laps, your tires are too hot, so you need to cool your tires for a few laps, and then you can be aggressive again, and then you get back in that circle where you get too close and you lose grip. So sometimes, in open wheel it's a little bit long, where in stock car you don't have that. So when you just keep pushing and keep being aggressive and keep overtaking people. So that's exciting. And I would say that, like, even though I may like road racing more than ovals, it's more in terms of oval size, because the races I've done, I raced in an open wheel at Milwaukee on a mile track, and I raced with the Pinty series in New Hampshire, which is maybe a little bit above more than a mile. Is it a mile or?
New Hampshire's a mile and a half.
Yeah,
I think so.
But I thought it was really nice, really fun. So yeah, I think it's more like our, the few tracks, like a quarter of a mile or a third of a mile is, it's a little bit too small. But like Delaware, I like it. I like Delaware for sure. I like the racing there, and so yeah, for sure. Like in general, I like more road racing. But when we get to ovals like in Duquesne or Delaware or New Hampshire, it's really nice.
Well, it sounds like you're in the right series. We love having you in the series and watching you and the skill that we get to see from a fan's perspective, and also being someone who analyzes it. And it's cool to watch you guys all season long. And as we were saying earlier, all the cool vibes this season. It's really showing all the positives out in people, and especially with seeing how awesome you took that win this past weekend and going on into the end of the season, going on the next season. That's awesome to see, man. So, hey, thanks for coming on the show, Kevin, and going to definitely look forward to seeing you at Delaware.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah.
All right. No problem.
That was fantastic. I just loved every moment of that conversation. What I was really intrigued by was just his open wheel experience, learning that he had that win in Portland in Indy Lights and his first race out, his first debut. That was really cool. Hope people really appreciated or found that interesting.
Yeah, it was awesome spending some time with him, and also getting to know him a little bit better, showing a little different side for the folks out there.
I hope so.
Just about wraps it up for this edition. Thanks for all for listening to us on the FM on CFMH 107.3 Local FM, CKMS 102.7 Radio Waterloo, and the Performance Motorsports Network app on your smart device, as well on all streaming platforms. Check us out on social media at the WWOMS. That is just the facts. We'll see y'all around the bend.
Adios.